And that's how easy you get swayed in prison, you know? Like, I'm looking at this dude like he's not a dope fiend. He's running the Mexicans. So now it's like it's a clean needle. They're all brand new. Like, if he's doing it, why not? You know? So I was like, shit, all right, whatever. And the rest is history, bro. Like, it ruined my life. I cannot tell you how much harder having a heroin addiction made my prison sentence. And, like, I still think to this day, you know, I kind of blame Scotty, you know? And it's what's shitty is, like, he's out on the streets now, bro. And, like, just the other day, it was just, like, kind of like, man, this dude is never going to figure life out. Literally get him hired out my car dealership when he gets out because I vouch for him. I'm like, he's sober, he's doing AA thing, like whatever. As long as I can, and I know people are doing recovery or good people and change, I can legit get anybody hired no matter what the record is. He starts making 10 grand a month selling cars, killing it. This is how quick it can go bad. I'm not even joking. He never came back to work. 3 months later, he gets arrested with 3 pounds of meth, transporting meth back and forth from Texas. So, which is why, like, it's so big, and I try to teach a lot is impulse control, you know, because like even myself, like, I notice I still have really, really bad impulses. One split second can ruin your life. So like, that's why I'm so big on like pausing before you're gonna make any rash decision.
Man, it's just like kind of serendipitous, like sitting here with you, man, because the first podcast I ever did was yours at your house. And I actually have that image. I use that image in my a lot of my social media.
Yeah.
That was my first time telling my story like that on air, you know, to be publicized. And now we're in Cali. You're here in my podcast, right? And I was all inspired by you know, when we first met at Sister Mary Sean's house in South Central LA. So man, I'm just grateful that we could do this again, that we're here to be able to have this conversation. And I just want to know, like, man, what's been up, man? What you've been up to? What's going on? Why are you out here? All that good stuff.
Where do I even begin? But first off, like, it's crazy. I remember like just driving in the car over here, you know, like when I first went to Sister Mary's house and I met you, you were 60 days out, right? Or 90 days, 60 days out?
Yeah, it was like 60 days.
And didn't know anything, but, you know, the people that know the story, you know, I saw a lot of myself in you, and I saw that, you know, and I just got out and I was like, holy shit, man. And like, it's so cool how you can like learn so much from people out here, you know, and like, I don't really want to take any credit for anything. Like, I showed you just a little bit, and like what you're doing now is even more like, it just flips already, you know what I'm saying? Like, I inspired you when I got out, and now it's like, dude, talking in the parking lot, like all the stuff you got going on. I said, like, you've been out 2 years, and I've been out 10 years, and you absolutely passed me in what I was trying to do. But we're all in different, you know, walks of life, and it's all, you know, different. We're writing different stories, and you know, we're right where we're supposed to be, you know. And I'm like, I said, I honestly like went back to work and had a family and got married and had kids now, you know. So it's like completely different from like where I was a few years ago, you know. But like, happier than I've ever been, you know. I have 2 little babies now that are 18 months apart, so I get to rewrite, you know, the childhood from how I grew up, you know. Me and my brother grew up 18 months apart, and have a beautiful wife now that like and a household that like I've never even witnessed to my own eyes unless I went to my friend's house as a kid, you know. And I get to do that now, and now we're gonna go out to Soledad to go drop some game and try and change these lives from these inmates. And it's really, really hits close to home because, you know, as well as I do, a lot of dudes, anybody that's watched prison shows, all those shows are minimum security camps. All those dudes are going home, never done no real time. I don't want to say they're not about shit, but it's just different from like what me and you were raised in prison, you know. So it's really cool to like, bro, I've been out 10 years now, and we're about to go walk a 4-yard tomorrow and talk to some real dudes that were like living that life, that gangster lifestyle that we were living in prison. So just flew in today to do this, and always had to get on here and get on a podcast with you, but just fired up, man, and just want to inspire people. And this weekend is one that's going to change the books for us, bro. So, but yeah, my life is completely different now. You know, I'm a dad now and raising kids, and not the little single entrepreneur running the streets wild. But, you know, I've been out 10 years now, and it's just really cool. You know, like the kids have completely changed my life, and everything that I like cared about a few years ago is just completely different now.
Now that you're a father of 2, and I didn't know they were 18 months apart, like you and your brother, that's crazy. Like, that's nuts. But
God's plan, bro.
Yeah, God's plan. And you have 2 boys, and you're married. Like, talk about that. I know, like, that's such a huge thing for men these days in the world. It's just like trying to get there,
Yeah.
trying to have that wife and that family. And I see you all the time on social media. We talk all the time, and you're just so happy, and they light you up.
Yeah.
So like, how does one get there, man? Like, you got out of prison, starting over. I mean, after doing all that time to build what people strive their whole lives to build, to have that family dynamic and successful. And so how did that happen? Like, how did you get there?
For one, it's God, bro. Like you know, like I told you, I never believed in God before, and then so much good stuff can happen, and like there's no chance you can not believe in God at this point, you know. And it's like, it's the perfect ending to my story, with even me being a shot caller for the Aryan Brotherhood in prison, you know. And now it's like, my wife is half black, bro, and like my son is a quarter black, you know, and like I had to burn off all my political prison tattoos, you know, and put it all on YouTube. And now, like, it's the perfect ending to the story, because when we go talk to these guys in prison, you know, these dudes that we're gonna go talk to tomorrow, you know, they were risking years of their life to earn this ink that you go through the most pain in your life to burn off your body when you get out, you know. And it's what I'm the most proud of now too, is just being a dad and a good husband. Like, I've never, like I told you, everything just completely changed, and now I just strive to be like a dad that I've never even seen before. And I don't mean to bag on my family, like it's not even about that, but I'm real with what I speak about, you know. And like, my kids definitely will not grow up anything how I grew up, and there's no better feeling in the world than like pulling up to your own house that you own, being able to pull in the garage, because like the apartments, finding parking spots and all that stuff, you know. But they're all first world problems that like I would have given them my right arm to have these problems 10 years ago, you know. But it's like, you kind of forget where you come from, and that's the number one thing that I have to deal with on a daily basis now, which is why I do the prison stuff, is because the biggest disservice you can do is forget where you come from, you know. And like, my life is so good now, like I let stuff irritate me that I would have never in a million years let irritate me before, you know. Like, I told my wife this last night when I was in the kitchen, I was like, I need this trip as bad as anybody does right now. You know, like my second son's 7 weeks old, so, you know, riding on literally 4 or 5 hours of sleep every day. And it's just like, you know, you get snappy and you can get angry and like you lose your temper real quick because you have no sleep, you know. And it's like, I needed this trip. I need this as much as hopefully those inmates need it for us tomorrow, you know, like, because this, I don't know what analogy to use, but this, you know, just recharges my battery to like be grateful again. You know, like I told Jasmine last night, I said, just wait till you see the human being that comes back after doing this trip. You know what I'm saying? Because like, put myself back where I was, walking these yards and like knowing, holy shit, like I've been on 10 years now. I forgot how bad my life used to be, you know? And like, to be honest, it's kind of, I can't even picture being in a prison cell. Like, you know, so it's kind of hard. But that's a disservice to myself, you know, because if I remember that and keep that fresh in my head, it's so much easier to deal with daily problems that come up on a daily basis, you know. But like,
just a lot more grateful.
100%. And if you have gratitude and perspective, you can literally get through any situation. But like, here's my kind of not struggle, but nowadays, like, I've always talked about sobriety, and like that's been kind of the number one thing in my life with that. Like, now I kind of shifted, and I want to just help people be good parents, you know. Like, my parents didn't know how, and when they raised me, I kind of give them a pass, and my wife doesn't, but like, they didn't know what the hell they were doing, bro. You know, they were just raising me how they were raised by their shitty ass alcoholic parents, you know. And it's like, I'm the one that now gets to really break the generational curse. And like, it's so cool, like, knowing that my wife can go through my phone anytime she wants, you know. Like, I come home and she's happy to see me. My son like dies if I'm not there, and like, I work 60, 70, 80 hours a week. I'm barely ever home, and my son's a daddy's boy. You know, that's how like good I am to him when I'm home. Like, I change every diaper when I'm home. I wake up with him every day. Like, so I want to like make dads, and make it be cool to change diapers. You know what I'm saying? Like, those aren't all women's jobs, and like, just be a team player. And there's nothing more than like respecting your wife and your kids and having them have the same respect for you. You know what I'm saying? It's like, the fact that I can do this is something like I'm more proud about than even like making money when I got out of prison or anything like that. But because I wasn't raised like this, I'm no joke, never witnessed a household that I live and I put on every day, you know, with my wife, which is cool.
Yeah, that's powerful, because it's like almost like you know, when you have this family and, you know, this life that you have, whenever I'm around you or I came to visit you, it's just you seem a lot happier. You seem like you're more at peace, like you've found like where you like belong in a sense than before. You know, before it was just kind of like trying to figure it out, was going through different struggles and different things. And now you're like, you have this amazing family and this amazing life, and now you're making impact in other people's lives. You know, we're going into the prison, and some of these guys at this prison we're going to are guys that I walk the yard with. lifers that close friends that I was in the yard with. So, and when I went back last time, one thing they were all saying, "What's up with Chappy? What's up with Chappy?" I'm like, "How do you even know Chappy?" And they're like, "Man, we heard the episode. Man, we love that dude. Like, these dudes love you." And that is the reason why I reached out to you. Was like, you got to come up here.
Yeah.
These dudes, like, you're inspiring them. Like when they're on their toughest days, like they're the hope when they listen to like your podcast, and it's like they see, oh man, like that's so cool. As though there's somebody like us who's out there and has this great life. And so the work you're doing, man, is more valuable than millions and millions of dollars. Yeah. And you know what I mean? And God provides to those who do good work.
God's paying me with that, to be honest. Like I took a pay cut in life to like do what I'm doing now, you know, but like I'm building a foundation and then just restarting it all over again with my family now. You know, that's kind of how I looked at it. Like I took 2 steps back and I'll go 10 steps forward this next year or two. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of what I looked at. But the base, the end goal and everything is to have, for me at least, and for most people, I feel like the end goal is to have, you know, a beautiful wife, beautiful kids, a nice house and everything like that. So I got all that. I had to go 2 steps back to get that, but like that's the end goal. So now I just have to build everything on top of that, you know. But like my foundation is like something you see in the movies, bro. You know, like my life is like literally like you would have never in a million years. If you didn't see the tattoos and you're at my house, you would have never thought in a million years that I had done 12 years in prison if you just saw my household. You know what I'm saying?
Never. Do you still experience like some struggles from like your prison experience in your past, like any feelings or things that are still happening after you've been out now 10 years?
I get a lot of triggers with different shows. You know, it's just so crazy. So funny story, I was watching the show Euphoria, right? Have you seen that or heard about it? Mm-mm. It's really crazy, right? It's about these high school kids that like just grow up crazy, like into all drugs and like single mother, and like with the first episode we watched, and like we watched this like 15-year-old girl just like on drugs and like rips these pills out of her mom's hand, trashes the house, and my wife makes the comment that she's like says something about how like this is a crazy show but it's so fake, and I was just like, and I'm thinking, holy shit, that's my childhood. Like literally as we're watching this, she's thinking it's like a fake show, and I was like thinking, I'm like, oh my God, that is literally my childhood right here. Wow. And I remember driving to work the next day, and I told her, I was like, my son made me so emotional now, you know, like I cry all the time. And I was like crying, watch that. And I'm like thinking like, thank God my kids will never see any of that shit, you know?
Yeah.
And then there's like some soundtrack for that song that like, I just like really liked, and I listened. No joke, I drove to work the next day and just put the song, like, what a lot of times I'll do is I'll listen to old prison songs, or this song was like something that kind of takes me back there, you know, to like reload my gratitude and perspective on life, you know. So like I just put that song literally on the music on high and put it on repeat the whole entire drive to work, you know. And I remember thinking the girl's name was like Ruby Rose or something like that. And I remember thinking like, you know, I'm driving my $120,000 brand new 7 Series, and I was just like, how the hell did I turn Ruby Rose's life into this shit? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And like anything is freaking possible if you put in the work, you know.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy, but it's the truth, and that's why it's so valuable for us going into the prisons, because no one told me this was possible. You know, if I would have known this was even possible, I would have been a lot fired up to get out. I maybe wouldn't have been so hard into politicking and being gangster and doing drugs in prison. I would have maybe been trying to do some positive stuff to gear myself up to have this life. But like they didn't even tell you this was possible. Luckily I tripped and stumbled on it, like a really good job, and started making 6 figures right when I got out of prison. But if not, like I wouldn't have even known we could do this. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's such a disservice to these people, and you wonder why 87% of them go back to prison. You don't give them any tools to get out for it, and you don't even tell them what's possible for them if they do the good work. You know, like in Arizona, they'll tell you like get a construction job, make $15 an hour, and get sober and figure it out. You know, and here's $100 when you get out. Good
exactly.
luck.
Same shit like California. Same thing. You walk out, they give you $200 and you got to start over. And but one thing I always say is like if you were inside in prison and you've done, you know, a lot of time, you have a certain level of mindset. Like first of all, if you make it out, that means you've gotten yourself together enough to where you made your way out. But now you have this mindset of like resiliency and being able to overcome challenges and dealing with the mental torture of prison. Yeah. So you get out here and apply that towards something meaningful, man, you could be successful.
And
right?
Not only that, instead of feeling like we're behind the 8 ball, we have an advantage on the rest of these people out here. Like literally, if you could like look at that, like, I mean, it's the nicest way possible, and I always say this, but like normal citizens, civilians, whatever you want to call them, 90% of them have no drive, are pussies, will just crumble in 2 seconds. they literally crumble at the first sign of adversity. We don't have that, because if we did, we wouldn't have survived what we survived. You know what I'm saying? So like, if you already have that mindset and know that like, yo, I'm better than the next dude, even though he didn't go to prison. Where instead of when I was getting out, I was thinking, shit, I can't get the job he can get. You know, like that dude didn't go to prison. I'm covered in prison tattoos. He has no tattoos. Like, who's gonna want to mess with me when this guy's right here? And instead, you think you're better than that guy, which you should. You know what I'm saying? Because we know what we can get through and we know what we can overcome. And that mindset alone can change the game for so many people.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned earlier that going into the prison is going to do more for you basically than it's going to do for them. I feel the same exact way. And that's why I go in. I go in at least, since I've been out, I've gone in at least 3 times a year. And it's always a reset. When I'm able to like walk out on my own too and like look back and the guards like, all right, have a nice day. And the guard used to fucking look at me like shit when I was in prison. That feeling, like, of just like, is like, yeah. Now, like I mentioned,
I have goosebumps just thinking about.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
right now.
So it's like a reset, like how grateful we truly are, man. And sometimes you forget.
100%.
Yeah. So these guys in prison think they're so grateful for us to come. Like, you could feel that.
Yeah.
But I just want to say this, so that they're listening to this, is like, we're more grateful.
Oh, 100%.
You know what
like
I'm
I said,
saying?
this is literally going to do more for us than it will be even for them. But it'll let us help them even more. You know what I'm saying? Because it fires up to keep doing what we're doing out there. You know, and it's like, dude, I remember thinking that. You know, when you're on the yard and you see, because anybody you see, all you see is corrections officers or dudes wearing orange if you're in Arizona. And out here, you guys wear blues.
Blues. Yeah.
Blues. Okay, so anytime you'd see somebody wearing street clothes on the yard, I don't know about you, but like, I would just stare at them, like analyze their entire outfit. Like, if he was wearing Jordans, I was like, oh my god, that dude just went and bought Jordans and I would like go through the whole process in my head. You know, I'm like, damn, he probably went to Foot Locker, tried on a bunch of pairs of shoes, and like, you literally go through that whole thing. I don't know about you, but I would go through that whole process in my head. You know, and I'm just like, damn, I remember thinking that. Not to mention, for one, I don't even think I've seen a dude wearing Jordans on the yard out here, but like, you know, you analyze their outfits or whatever they're doing, and I remember thinking when they're walking off, and I'd watch them walk off every time, I'm like, that dude's literally going to just go get in his car, you know, and drive home, put some music on. I'm like, I cannot believe it. And then I'm like, and then I was thinking, like, dude, he'll probably be home in like an hour. I could not even imagine being at your own house in an hour after being on this yard, you know? And now we're going to be doing that. And it's like, there's never been no dudes that look like us on a prison yard, like to try and help these people. Like, it's going to be literally unreal. Like, I cannot tell you how excited I am for this stuff. It's going to be unbelievable.
Yeah. And it's just the beginning. And what are some of the stuff you're going to tell? There's 100 guys are going to be in there, all different, like you said. There's going to be guys in there for murder. There's going to be guys in there that were in the shoe, guys that were shot callers, all these different people. Diversity as its fullest. What kind of message do you want to send them? And this will all be documented, by the way, so you'll be able to see this. But just now, before we even go, like, what message do you hope to convey to those men in there?
I hope more than anything that after they go through this program, like, just like what I said earlier, their entire mindset switches. So like, the most successful trip ever would be if we just go there and say there's 150 dudes in there, and we get 150 guys that once they leave that class, that they're like, holy shit, instead of being scared to get out and not knowing what kind of job they're going to get, they're ready to literally attack the world. And like, their entire mindset has switched from like, holy shit, what am I going to do when I get out, to, oh my god, I'm going to do this. And like, dude, look what you've done. And how long have you been out now?
3 years, 8 months.
3 years and 8 months. And you did positive stuff when you were in prison towards the end of your sentence, and you've done like, like a little bit of more positive stuff in there, but like, you didn't have the tools and the resources that we have now and we can bring to these guys now. So like, it's just the possibilities that we can get to these guys are endless if we can start helping them from prison till they transition out from the streets, and like make real game plans for these guys. So I want to, like, almost every guy, we can kind of know like what their plan is when they get out, what kind of field they want to go in, like what kind of connections or opportunities that we can pass off or suggest to them. You know, like, I think we can legit change every single one of those person's lives just alone by like perspective for what they think that they can accomplish once they hear like what we've done with our lives now, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things you're doing, which is amazing, is you're giving each of them a copy of your book.
Yep.
Like that book, those books, over 100 books, are going to be circulating California prisons forever. Because I remember going from prison to prison to prison, and you see the same book kind of been floating around.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? That's 100 times.
When you're in the shoe, they bring the little library card around, the same damn books are on
exactly.
the covers and stuff.
So you're like, your story is going to be all in
it's crazy. I was saying this last night. Like, for some people that don't know my full story, I was kicked out of prison. Like, no joke. My last 11 months in prison out there in Arizona, I was back in solitary confinement, would have went back to the SHU or maximum security, but I was at the end of my sentence, so they didn't even want to ship me back to this. So they sat me in the solitary confinement there, and I remember telling SSU, who are the gang detectives in there, verbatim. I remember it was yesterday. I was like, "What am I doing in here? Like, when are you guys gonna let me out?" I'd been in like 3 or 4 months, and you don't go to those. It's hard to explain. You don't go to those like detention units and stay there for long periods of time. Like you're there for a month or two until you go to max or whatever new yard you're going to. And they suck because there's 50 cells in there, and 48 of the cells or 49 of the cells are all protective custody. So they're all trash.
So you can't talk. You're not even talking to anybody, sharing
My
anything,
last 11 months, every single day they would be banging on their doors saying, "Chappy's a chomo." Banging on the doors like 2, 3, 4 in the morning all day long. So my last 11 months, I had to listen to that all day long. And the SSU cops had told me verbatim, they said, "We're done with you. You're going to sit in here until you go home." They're like, "We're done with you. We're going to have," and then they told me this. They said, "We're going to have the streets have their luck with you because we're done with you in here. You will sit in a cell until you go home." Wow. So they were so done with me. And this isn't like a minimum security yard. I was on the gangster gladiator school 4 yard. It's literally nicknamed Murder Mori. That's where they kill all the dudes at. Any shot caller that's done time in the SHU or something like that, if you're going to a 4 yard, they send everybody to this yard. It's the yard, and it's supposedly impossible to go to the hole from this yard because, like, dude, you could stab somebody and like they'll open the yard up that day. It's like one of those yards. I went to the hole from there, and I had to stay in the hole from there until I got out, and had no clue what I was going to do. But luckily, I was strung out on drugs, 175 pounds, and was under. We all went in there and we were under investigation for an attempted murder that happened on the yard. And, luckily I got in trouble for, supposedly running the yard and calling the shot on the guy, but they, slit his throat ear to ear, stabbed his eyes out completely, like popped them like they're like water balls in your eyeballs, and by God's grace, this dude lives somehow, and we all make it out. And both those guys completely changed their lives. Like, they went scared straight after what these kids did, man. Like, put themselves in like a treatment when he got out, and so like I got out without even a plan of what to do out here. Like, no joke, I had no clue what I was gonna do except probably try and find a construction job, and had no clue what to do. So like, imagine the difference we can have now with we're sharing the story with these guys. And I was the biggest screw up in the prison system out there in Arizona, and now it's like I get corrections officers DMing me on Facebook and Instagram being like, "Holy shit, I can't believe your podcast on the tablets, and there's so-and-so told me about this," So it's like, imagine for the other inmates in Arizona when they were on the yard and I was running the yard, like literally calling the shots for these guys, and then they pull up on the tablets, they're like, "What the fuck, this dude's got a podcast on here now," So it's like, it means more because guys like us don't really listen to normal dudes on the streets. You know what I'm saying? Because we always have that mindset. You don't know what the hell we've been through. You haven't walked our shoes. What works for me doesn't work for you. Now it's like, you can't say that anymore because I've had everything thrown up against me. Had my back against the wall my entire life. Did 12 years in prison and did the worst 12 years you could have possibly done. And like, look what I've done with myself now. And now I just want to show people how to do this. Yeah.
What's your advice? Because another thing we're doing is we're going to visit the juvenile hall the next day, a juvenile facility. So what's your advice to like the young people before they are going to go on that path to prison, like going back to when you were young, just fucking up drugs and robbing and stealing, like, man, like, cause that's such a huge problem that I feel, is another thing that we can definitely inspire change in and help with is like the younger generation before they even go down that path. So like, what's your advice to them or advice for people who wants to help them? I just want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors, Tattoo Away. Tattoo Away is a new innovative way to remove tattoos. I'm going through the process myself. It's incredibly fast and it's painless, and it's just a more effective way of removing tattoos. So I just want to give a shout out to them. If you're interested in this new innovative process, their link is in my description. And if you would like to get connected with them directly, please reach out to me and I can help you with that. Now let's get back to the show.
Man, that one's I'm even more excited to do that than the other one. Like I wish to God I would have had someone like talk to me like when I was a kid. Like the whole thing with kids, I feel like, is just getting them not to follow the next person. Like we got to just teach them to be their own man. Because like when they're kids, especially kids that are growing up rough, whoever they're surrounded by, the next kid is probably gonna be doing some dumb shit. If we like I feel like our main goal has got to be to just get them to like, no matter what you see so-and-so doing, like do what's right and do what you know is right. Like even if you don't have a mom or a dad at home, like people can still raise you like they're your mom and dad. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like Dog, like I don't talk to any of my family anymore out here, you know. But it's like I got dudes that I look at like almost like my pops, you know, just like prison pops. I kind of run the same shit out here, you know. Like I got dudes out here that I run with that are like I still call them my prison youngsters, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, so to get to those kids, just tell them like not, and then hopefully I can just give them some examples. Where like I cannot tell you how many dudes that I've seen in prison that are old as hell, that killed somebody, did some dumb shit when they were kids. And these dudes would never harm a soul if they were let out of prison, but they're never getting out of here. You know what I'm saying? I just, the biggest goal is going to be just to make sure those kids don't turn into being one of those guys. You know what I'm saying? Because being tough ain't cool. And that's another biggest thing with the kids is like everybody wants to act tough, you know, and I want to let people know that real tough people don't act tough. You know, people always say that, like, you know, we had a dude that got crazy at the dealership just 2 nights ago, right? Like literally tried to fight me in my office, called me boy, like do your job, boy, all kind of stuff. And I'm just like, I get out, I'm like, first time it ever happened, right? Even my general manager was there, and he even told me, he goes like, if the other finance guys were there, they would have full on gotten a fist fight with this guy. Luckily, I was twice the dude's size, you know, and he like literally flinched at me even. And I'm not even joking. All I told him was like, I dare you, bro. That'll be the worst thing you could ever do, you know, like literally, and didn't do anything. He tried to throw a water bottle at me, and I don't do anything now, you know. And it's like, seriously, bro. And I'm just like, I'm so different now, though. Like none of that stuff is worth it, bro. And like, I just think of like everything that I have going for me, you know. And it's like, even though I would have been in defense, like that could have screwed up this Cali trip. God knows what would have happened. And like my luck, I hit the dude one time, he falls and hits his head and he dies. You know, like you could I always have the back of my head, like the worst thing could possibly happen, because before in my life, I felt like every time it was always the worst case possible scenario, you know? Yeah. So like, but even then, so my wife told me, she was, oh my God, I didn't know you had it in you and you're tough like that. Cause they had it on video, you know? And I'm just like, yeah, what do you mean am I tough, you know? And I was like, how do you think of you run prison yards for not being tough, you know? And then she's like, I just never seen that side of you, you know? And I'm just like, you hopefully won't, you know what I mean? Like people that are really tough don't act tough. So that's the biggest thing with getting these kids is like to stop acting tough and just be themselves, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm so proud of the man I am today and being myself, and nobody can sway and get me to act some different way. And I'm going to be the same person, whether I'm in front of you or Jalen Strong or, you know, any of my buddies, whoever it is, just be themselves, you know?
Yeah, that's one thing I could say about you, man. You're always just you. You've never changed. It doesn't matter who you're around or what they're doing, or it could be a dude like me who just got out of prison 60 days with really just nothing. I had nothing going for myself. You treated me with the same level of respect and just an appreciation than other people who would be deemed as like successful. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like it's never changed, and that's a very rare thing. That's like a really powerful thing, and it's strong to not react, because I know like when you were telling me the story about the dealership, I'm like, I was thinking about how the old you would have reacted. It's like a whole different.
He literally wouldn't get out of my office. He's like, move me, and like said the B word, move me, bitch, move me, do your job, boy. And I was just like, and I was walking, I was like, yeah, we're not doing this. We don't fight here. This is like a car dealership, you know. Like I'm your finance manager. Like you like we don't do this. And then he literally tried to flinch at me, throw a water bottle. And like all I could say, and like I told me afterwards, I'm like, dude, I am so proud of myself, man. The fact that I could literally let someone in my face flinch at me even and not even touch him, you know, it's like shows the difference between a guy like me and Wes Watson. Yeah, who's really tough. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, that's definitely hard.
Another big difference right there is not to even bring it up, but like people always try to compare me to Wes Watson. Wes Watson not only wouldn't, but couldn't go walk a prison yard again. You know what I'm saying? That's the difference between us. Like, I'm a real motherfucking dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can be this in here and in prison. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you'll get the same. But like, that's what I think is also crazy that people see is like, watch the level of love and respect that we get when we hit that yard tomorrow too. Because like, they know that we're real dudes and we're not gonna fake and switch up for the next person. And we did our time the real way that people do time in Arizona or in wherever it is in corrections. You know what I'm saying? So like, people can respect the realness, and I feel like you'll see all that stuff tomorrow.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Wes Watson, because he's been like coming up a lot. People that, because we do the prison stuff, his name's be coming up and like, oh man, is this dude legit or was he really this and that? Like, what
No. He served 4 years and was completely nonviolent, was on a minimum security yard and a 2-yard and a 1-yard, got shipped out of state and did his time in Arizona. Like, he didn't even do California time. He didn't serve 10 years. He didn't even serve half that. He didn't even serve 5 years. You can look it up. He served 4 years and 11 months and was on minimum security yards. He's the dudes that I used to make fun of in prison. The dudes that come in there for 3 or 4 years, go to minimum security yard and come slung back with prison tattoos and act like they're some hard up gangsters, you know? And I know Wes Watson is not, it's not even the same. And to be honest, I get so mad when people compare us. I'm like, the only thing, the comparison that we have is that we both have a lot of prison tattoos and we both weigh 240-ish. You know what I'm saying? Because nothing else about us is similar. Like, He's trash. I'm a good dude. I'm a gangster. He's a bitch. Like, there's literally zero comparisons there. Yeah. I've been trying to fight that dude forever, but he don't want no smoke. And I told him I'll donate any of the money to charity, anything in the world they want. He could UFC fight me, and I'll only box. Like, I would smoke that dude in 4 seconds.
Yeah.
Not to even be about that, because we're not trying to talk tough, but like that dude just gets me. I just hate people that are like just not good human beings out here. You know what I'm saying? And that dude's a trash human being and just tries to take advantage of people. So I just can't stand people like that. But people always try to compare us together. There's no comparisons there.
Yeah, and you know, prison is a place where you have to really be a man. You know that. Like, there's
Anybody
no
can pull a gun on somebody on the streets. That's what I always say.
Yeah. You have to really be a man in prison. You have to be able to use your hands in whatever way, whether it's with a knife or fist. You can't run. You know, you have to not only just be able to be strong physically, but and you know what's funny is, like, you could be like the skinniest dude in prison and weakest, but if you have heart, people respect you.
Yep.
So it's like it really goes back to like heart, right?
Yes.
And just like the commitment to the unwritten laws, like keeping that code in that world, which is like a lot of things come with that, like, you know, your word and all that. I mean, if you're committed to something, then you got to give it your all. You got to give it your word. But if you're not a part that's cool. But whatever you do in life, do it right. That's the mindset. So
and don't front like you're doing this other thing if you're not.
Yeah. And so in prison, like, was there ever a time when there was somebody, and I never asked you this, but I've always wondered, was there somebody in prison who was like an influence to you when you first went in, to kind of taught you the ropes, or did they lead you negatively, or did they lead you positively? Because for me, like, first day in prison, my cellie taught me how to make a knife, how to stitch up a wound, and pressure points. That was our first introduction, but it was him teaching me survival skills.
So I was gonna say you had.
And he said, don't use drugs. Don't do this. Don't do
mine
that.
Was the opposite.
So yeah, that's what I wanted to know about your situation.
You know, it's crazy. I always say this, like, because people always would ask me, like, nobody younger had a bigger name in my white race than me. Like, you know, no joke. I was 23 running 4 yards, and I'm from Ahwatukee. Like, I was not a gangbanger. Like, I used to model. I had long blonde hair. Like, and I always say this. I owe all of it to. Another thing I would always joke about, because I would always say I never had no prison pops. You know, I did it without a prison pops, because everybody had a pops and they come in, you know, that's what you call them. You know, you get mentioned by somebody. And Scotty was the dude that would always say my prison pops, but it was like the second yard I was on. And because the first yard I was on, it was just like, it was kind of a small yard and it wasn't like gangster and stuff. So the next yard when I got shipped, it was a real yard, you know. So by that time though, I was already thinking I was tough, you know. I had already ran a building. I'd whooped the first dude from the yard I hit. I whooped the dude running my building like the first week there, and he was twice my size. And I was like long blonde hair, so you see, like, they were like, this little scrawny kid just beat that dude up, you know. So like I'd already started getting some love. So I'd already started thinking I was kind of cool, you know. So at the second yard, of course, now I'm like, I don't need no prison pops, you know. I've already been to another yard before. So I always said he wasn't my prison pops, but he for sure was. And we were like this, man, for I want to say 5 or 6 years. We were cellies.
Wow.
Got moved to the same yard together, and we were cellies at the next yard. The only time we got split up is we both got a predator packet off the 4 yard. But like when I was in that relationship with that corrections officer, he was my cellie there. Like, and it's hard to say that I had love for the dude, because when I think back, he's such a shitty dude, you know. Like, and I just clicked that he's gonna hear this. But, damn, yeah. He just did what I always wouldn't do with people, you know? Like, I kind of even though I was gangster and crazy in prison, like, I wasn't like a scumbag with stuff, you know? Like, I always had my own money, and I would never get young kids on dope, and like, he did the exact opposite, you know? Like, so when I was in that relationship with that corrections officer, I had ounces of heroin, like, whatever I wanted, you know? And I didn't do drugs, which the real gangsters weren't dope fiends, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was running my people, and me and the head Mexican dude had cells right next to each other, and neither of us did dope, but we were the ballers, you know. We'd feed all our people every night, you know. And Scotty, I'm getting him high every night, you know, because he's my prison pops and I have the dope sack. And he would drive me nuts, because he'd always want me to pull it out to get some more, you know. And to be honest, it would annoy me, you know. I'd be watching TV for the end of the night, winding down. He'd be like, yo, I'm gonna pull that shit out and do some more. And I'm like, for one, it's my shit.
Yeah.
Two, it's like, dude, then the day's over, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't even understand a heroin addiction really at this point still, you know. And And I remember people telling me when I was in county jail that I had never even seen heroin or even touched it or seen a person on heroin. And they were telling me, like, just wait till you get to prison. Everyone does heroin, you know? And I had also heard that a lot of people that they said they hated heroin their first like 5 or 10 times, and then one day they just started liking it. So I always had that at the back of my head. And I remember telling Scotty, because he would always try to get me to like snort a capsule. And the reason he'd be trying to get me to do that was because then I'm pulling it out so he gets to do more, you know? And I remember telling him one day, I was like, dog, Scotty, stop asking me to do this shit, bro. Like, I don't like it right now, and I don't want to one day just start liking heroin and then have another drug addiction to worry about, you know? So I kind of told him that one day, and then literally the next freaking day, my homie running the essays, I get home from work, and I don't know if I told you this story, but he has a handful of needles in his hand, and he looks lit, right? And I'm like, what the hell are you on, bro? He tells me just slam some heroin. I was like, literally like, shut up, bro. Yeah, right. And he's like, I swear. And I was like, why? You know? And he's like, my celly just did. He's like, it's fucking tight, bro. And I was like, stop. And he's like, if you want to stay back from chow, he's like, I'll have my celly hit you right now. And I'm like, and that's how easy you get swayed in prison, you know? Like, I'm looking at this dude like he's not a dope fiend. He's running the Mexicans. So now it's like it's a clean needle. They're all brand new. Like, if he's doing it, why not? You know, he's a gangster. He's got, you know, he's not like I didn't look at him like a dope fiend. Like I look at all the other guys that did dope, you know? So I was like, shit, all right, whatever. Come back. And the rest is history, bro. Like, it ruined my life. Like, I cannot tell you, shooting heroin that day absolutely ruined my prison sentence. Like, if I could get anybody to not try it for one time or not do, like, I cannot tell you how much harder having a heroin addiction made my prison sentence. And, like, I still think to this day, you know, I kind of blame Scotty, you know, and it's what's shitty is, like, he's out on the streets now, bro, and, like, I don't talk to anybody when they're messing up out here except him, because like I still feel like I kind of owe it to him, whatever. Like he's the one that built my name for me, because he was a triple OG in there, you know. But I actually just the other day was just like kind of like, man, this dude is never gonna figure life out. He is just full on okay being a loser. He gets out, goes right back to doing drugs, and like this dude goes to jail every few days, and like I'm the only phone number that he remembers, so he always calls me right when he gets out, and he wants me to call his daughter and all this stuff. And I'm just like, Dad told me the other day, I was like, dude, you got to figure this shit out, bro. Like, I cannot do this stuff. Like, it gives me anxiety even thinking of how he's living. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, just knowing, like, I had him selling cars when he got out of prison, bro. Listen, this is what I can do for people. I had him get out on parole. He's on parole for armed robbery, attempted murder, the worst cases you could possibly imagine, right? Did 25 years in prison. And I literally get him hired at my car dealership when he gets out, because I vouch for him. I'm like, he's sober, he's doing AA thing, like whatever. As long as I can, and I know people are doing recovery or good people in change, I can legit get anybody hired no matter what the record is, right? He starts making 10 grand a month selling cars, killing it, because people don't realize when you're in prison, you're good at sales. Like, sales is life. So if I needed to get my door popped and I was trying to make up some game for the corrections officer, what I'm doing is trying to sell an idea to her on why I need to get my door open. So I'm selling something to that corrections officer. It's the exact same thing out here when you're in sales in the real world, you know, like it's talking. Talking is sales, sales is life, right? So he just killed it, bro. I was making 10 grand a month, bought a nice ass Dodge truck. And what's crazy is I knew this was going to happen. He slipped and fell and broke his hand and like literally shattered this stuff. And what do they give you when you're in the hospital?
Morphine.
Painkillers.
Yeah.
He never came back to work.
That's crazy.
And then this is how quick it can go bad. I'm not even joking. He never came back to work. 3 months later, he gets arrested with 3 pounds of meth, transporting meth back and forth from Texas.
Man.
That's how quick your life can get flipped upside down from one simple relapse, which is why like it's so big, and I try to teach a lot is impulse control, you know, because like even myself, like I notice I still have really, really bad impulses, you know, and like one quick impulse can ruin your life. I mean, there's people that are in prison that out of a blink of an eye decide to shoot someone or something like that, and like right after literally would take it back if they could 100 million times over, you know. And it's like one split second can ruin your life. So like that's why I'm so big on like pausing before you're gonna make any rash decision. Like just like that dude at the dealership the other day. Did I want to just wreck him? Yes. No, but I like paused and I thought like, dude, please, you know what I'm saying? Like, look what I got going on. Am I gonna like? And the other thing too, the dude's 5'7". Like, do I need to prove to some 5'7" guy that I'm tough? No. Like, what do I win there? What do I win there?
Right.
Even if I hit him in his self-defense, I knock him out and I break my hand. And what? I beat up a dude that's half my size.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, that's impulse control is a big thing, man. Like you said, I've seen so many people that reacted in some way, and now they're either life in prison, or they can never take.
How many times you done it? I don't know.
Exactly.
Countless times I've been in the hole, and I'm like, why did I do that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like literally, why did
Yeah.
I do that? And it's the same stuff out here.
Yeah. So I guess the good question is like, how does one control their impulses? Like, how did we get like
pausing? So I'll tell you this, pausing. Yeah. The biggest thing is like take a pause. And I know this from dealing with my family, because I've been fighting with my mom and them a lot, like just over dumb stuff. And I'll get so angry right away. So there's a thing I do, like I don't send texts until I've like calmed down. And like I'll go, if like when I get off, dude, I'll go to send a text and I don't send it. And this happened the other day, and I like finally calmed down. And I told myself, like, no joke, whether I have to go outside and like, even if you smoke a cigarette, go walk, take a lap, like literally just do something to calm down for a second. And then your body will literally reset. And which is why I know, like, whatever gets in you when you get mad turns me into a different human being. Because that text, I went back and read that text. I was like, oh my God, I was going to say that, and then instead I didn't do that. I think I didn't even respond or something like that. But it's like, I was going to send a text that could have like, not ruined my relationship with my mom, but like, something you would have never, how you wouldn't want to talk to your mom.
It would have hurt her,
and it would have been something I would have been so embarrassed by, that I talked like that to my mom or something like that. But like, instead I paused and let myself calm down, and I realized like, holy shit, your emotions and stuff can like turn you into a different human being. So pausing is so critical. And then like, you can feel when your heart rate levels down, then you're back to where you should be, and then you can make a rash decision. But pausing is so huge for people, especially when you get out, because you're going to deal with adversity left and right once the honeymoon phase wears off, and it's like you'll want to crumble and go, just like quitting smoking or quitting drinking or something like that. Like the urges last sometimes seconds. The worst urge is going to last a minute or two, so it's like it's almost the same thing with pausing right there. If you can, when you get out, if you're dealing with something and like you want to, because my whole thing was like, shit, this didn't work out, now I don't know what to do, I'm gonna go get high, I don't want to think about this, like if you can just let that wear off for a minute or two or 60 seconds or 3 seconds even sometimes, and like realize, oh, shit, all right, I didn't go use, I'm still sober now, like those are tools that you can give to keep building on your life,
Yeah, pausing is such a powerful thing. Just taking a moment, taking a deep breath could be the difference between screwing up badly and you can't get back from, and being able to
and
keep
sometimes
yourself
even
in check,
pausing,
right?
just thinking where I am or what problem this is, just like I said, which is why having that gratitude like level is so key, because like you can pause and then be like, holy shit, like look at this problem I have right now, and like if you can get out of it in 2 seconds, or sometimes it might take a little bit longer, but just like pausing and just like realizing like the perspective of the situation, and just having gratitude for life still. Yeah.
What's some of your advice for a successful relationship or successful marriage?
That's a good one. And you know what's crazy? I feel like I'm so good at this now, and I had no idea about this before, and this is, this is the first woman I've ever been completely faithful to, like, and I never even saw a faithful relationship before in my life. That's what was crazy. It's like, I got out of prison, like, I thought everybody cheated on their wives. I thought everybody hung out at bars and did shady shit. Like, literally, I thought that's how the world worked, And luckily, I went through a couple of relationships before, and was able to like see how to actually be, so that I knew when I met my wife now that I knew how to be in a relationship. And like, we ask each other, Emily Hayden was down and she stayed, and she's like, it's crazy how much you and Jazz like ask each other if they're okay, if they need anything. It's like on a daily basis. I'm like for sure more concerned with like her and my sons, because here's the deal: if your wife is good, she's gonna pass that down to the kids and you if they're good. Like you have to, like, you can't. I just feel like in a household, my wife takes precedence over anything, because like if she's happy, I'm happy. She's with the kids and the kids are all happy. So like I ask her on a daily basis what I can do for her. Like, and I've seen so many people, and this is how I grew up, like my dad would sit there, watch TV, and my mom would do everything, and it's not like that in my house. So when I get home, I tell her to sit the hell down on the couch and just lay with the baby, and I literally do everything. No joke. I change every single diaper. I do dishes. I ask her what else she needs done. And that's a daily basis. And that's when I get home from my job, which is a grind and a struggle. And it's an 8, 9, 10-hour day. But that's where I always make a joke. Like when I get home from work, then my real work starts, because then I handle the babies and I do everything. And I wake up with my son every single day. Like every single day I wake up with Quincy. And I love that kid so much. It gets me emotional even thinking about him, and it's crazy having someone that loves you and looks up to you so much. Like, my son is obsessed with me, and it's the best feeling in the world, and it's, I owe all that to like my wife, my family, and how like they're the ones that like show me like what a real loving family can be, and it's like that I can be faithful to my wife and not even think the opposite. Like, it's crazy. I told her the other day, like, because even before, you could always, like, you still look at hot chicks on Instagram or whatever, and you could still have thoughts like, oh, that chick's hot or whatever. Like, I don't even think that way anymore. Like, I am so in love with my wife and my kids. Like, I don't even look at chicks on Instagram. Like, it doesn't even cross my mind. Like, literally, like, it's so weird how my mindset just completely switched. I'm like, I'm just like so happy with the family. And like, dude, once you get like a really, really happy household and family at home, it just changes everything. And that's all I care about now. So I feel like the biggest thing is just making sure your partner's okay, because if your partner's okay, then they're going to make sure you're okay, and like putting them first always, every day of my life, and that's what I do.
Yeah, that's powerful. And how did you learn that? Just doing it? Because you didn't obviously grow with that in the home. Your parents divorced. And so like,
and my dad was not faithful to my wife, my brother, none of them were faithful.
Yeah. So how did you learn that? Like, how did you find out about this? Because it almost seems like it comes from within.
It is. It's seriously, no joke. It is. And that's like watching good parents on Instagram, like literally I've switched my Instagram from like looking at hot chicks to like, now I follow like psychoanalyst parents and like literally just all that stuff, like I listen to like parenting podcasts and stuff. So like, no joke, that's my only goal is to just be the best parent ever, and that's all I care about now. And like, I listen to parenting podcasts, and like, that's it, bro. So like, you can do it even if you've never seen it done before. You know what I'm saying? Like, I said it before, I've never ever seen a household that I live in and I come home to every day. Like I said this last time when I pull up in my garage, close the garage, come in, my son is like at the door waiting for me, my dogs jump on me, my wife's on the couch with my other son, and I'm just like, what the fuck, man? Like, I cannot believe this is my life. I got $1 million crib. Like, and it's not even about the money, but it's like, it's more important what's in my household, because I had a bigger house before, and I sold that house, and now it's like, what's more impressive is like the household that I have. Like, people come over and see my house, and like, not only there's my house nice, but like, holy shit, like, my son is happy. Like, there's nice stuff in there. My wife's happy. Like, you can tell we have a great relationship, and it's like, and it's cool to show that part of stuff off now when people come over and see me, that like I get to show off now that I am a great dad, I'm a great husband, and like people strive to have what we have now at the house.
Yeah, man. So what's up with the podcast? I know you haven't done it in a while. What's your plans? What you're gonna do with that? I feel like it's such a part of your identity and your way of making impact in the world. It's
a God thing, of course. Again, like I put everything on hold because I got married. I had 2 kids. For people that know, I just built a new house and on a half acre, so then I built a whole backyard, put the podcast on hold for, I want to say a year and a half or 2, and then have been dying to get back into it again. And then, I feel like everybody and their mother's trying to have a podcast now. And, of course, like as I'm thinking about it, like that day I happened to get like 4 or 5 different DMs from people in prison that are like so like touching, like, dude, that's in the SHU program that said like I'm getting them through a SHU term. And I think I remember texting it, I was like, I got to kick the podcast back up. Like that day after we talked to someone, I had like 4 DMs the next day, so the podcast will be kicking back up June, and I'm going to literally put everything back into this podcast. And as good as it was before, that's my entire next goal for these next 2 years is to absolutely blow this podcast up. And I want to have a podcast as big as Joe Rogan's.
Nice. I love that. And we're going to do a nonprofit organization.
Yep.
And a part of this trip is like going in and doing like a prototype of our program here. And then also getting feedback from those that are inside and asking them what they need, what they want. We know from our perspective when we were in there, but things changed, right? Yeah. Things have changed since we've been in. So part of us creating a successful nonprofit is to also stay in touch with those that we're going to be serving, which is the incarcerated, former incarcerated.
But a lot of people, like, we coach out here on the streets, and it costs a lot of money to take you to buy time from us, and it's like out there, instead if we have the nonprofit, like we can literally change the world, because we can make it safer for everybody out here on the streets, because we can take these guys from prison, mentor them, get them on the right routine and program out there from prison, and then transition and keep literally coaching them right from the streets to like doing what we did, from hand in hand from the prison right here, like legit hold their hand the entire process through, and that's what the nonprofit's going to hopefully help us out with.
Yeah, and obviously nonprofit, it was probably something destined for us to do, so it just feels right. And I don't really know of any other nonprofit that's going to do what we do or be like 2 guys like us who
there can't be
got out, was able to take our story and take our life and become write books and speak and do podcasts and have these amazing lives.
You can't be duplicated, which is why it's so great. And it's like, it's such a perfect God snare, bro, because I think like the deep stuff about all of it, bro. Like a lot of white dudes will only listen to white dudes. There's some blacks that won't listen to no white dudes. Like we have the perfect mixture, which is why God did this. Like you're Mexican, my wife's black, and I'm in with the whites. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if a guy doesn't want to listen to me because he thinks that I'm some white dude that doesn't have his problems, then you got the Mexicans under control. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, I think about it like that because a lot of everybody in prison is so, like, racially divided still. And, like, I wasn't going to listen to some, like, I would have different, but there's a lot of white dudes that wouldn't have listened to a Mexican dude coming and teaching them a course in there or something like that. So that's why I feel like God put us all together, and it's the perfect storm to, like, to reach the most people. And, like, there's nobody that we can't get through to,
Yeah.
Because, like, yes, there's people that have had it worse than me and you, but like not that much, and you haven't done what we've done when you get out. So like there's nothing that you can say where like, because that's the problem when I was talking with counselors when I was a kid, I was like, he was trying to tell me about drug abuse and drug addiction. He had like a mustache and it was like some dorky ass white dude. And I was like, bro, you don't know anything about what's going on in my head. Like it's different with us because now the guys that have that exact same feeling that are in prison, we do know what they've been through. And a lot of those guys, we've been through worse shit than them, and we made it on the top. And once we get to show them that all that does is just adds armor to them and makes them stronger and have an advantage on the world, like it's going to change the game, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. What else do you have coming up that you are working on or that you want to accomplish within like, I don't know, the next few years? Obviously the podcast, we're doing the nonprofit.
Yeah.
What else? Like, what else do you hope and do you strive for the next few years?
To be honest, the end goal is to be, I fully think that me and you can just be the biggest speakers in prisons across the whole country. And I could just see us flying into prisons all over the whole country and just, we can literally change the world with this, bro, because there's so many people getting out of prison. There's so many people in prisons, and there's so many people that need to hear our stories, and so many people that have never, that don't even think that like they can have a good life when they get out of prison. It's like, it's just like a ticking time bomb until they go back to prison, So it's like, I think that we can just change the world for that. And not only that, like I said, if we fix the recidivism rate, that makes it, like I said, it makes your mom safer at home. It makes like the crime rate go down. It legit changes the world, And on top of that, a lot of guys that are like there, if we can get them to do this, we're all alphas, So like, what do we do? If you're an alpha male, you're not a follower, so you kind of set the trend, so like we can set the trend to like doing cool stuff and making like these dudes that were involved in bad stuff, like make it cool to be a good guy, make it cool to be a good dad, and make it cool to be faithful to your wife, like that's what I kind of want to do and start the whole movement. Like I just want to change the world with that, like make it like dudes want to be faithful to their wives and want to be good dads and want to change diapers, and dudes get out of prison and want to get sober and just like fix their lives and just be good people, bro.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. You're already doing it, and just so continuing to develop and grow that.
Yeah.
Is I mean, man, I'm just.
And
really
then networking, bro. Like
that.
a lot of the guys that if they're listening to this in prison, like I was embarrassed to tell people when I got out of prison about my story. Like literally, I would have never told a guy that I just met that I just did 12 years in prison or anything like that. I was like, and then when that Vice TV producer reached out to me to be on, I was a teenage felon. I had 400 followers on Instagram, didn't even believe or know about Instagram or do shit with it. And she asked me if I want to be on a TV show. And I was like, about what? She's like, your life. I was like, what the I was like, what do you want to hear about my life for? I was thinking, because I'm like, I'm some loser drug addict that just did 12 years in prison. That was the mindset I had about myself. Think about that.
Yeah.
That was the mindset I had. I was like, dude, I'm some loser that like got kicked out of prison, barely made it out of there, overdosed when I got out, like drug addict, loser, convict. That's literally what I thought about myself. I was like, who the hell wants to hear my shit? And I didn't even think about it, which is why mindset's so big that like, holy shit, I'm a gangster, bro. Like I've overcome all that stuff, and I was even worse than that of a human being. And now look how good of a human being I am. So like, not only that, like you can change and do anything you want in this world. And when you've come from what I've come from and been through what I've been through, and you see my life now, there's zero chance that you could not only one, believe in God, but two, like miracles happen. And on top of that, you can literally do anything in the world you want nowadays with social media and the internet the way it is. Like anybody listening to this, you can do anything in the world, no matter what anybody tells you. I promise you, nobody in the world told me I could do this. Like literally, like when I even tried on this journey, remember I told you, like my family was like crying, like, please don't quit your job. Don't do this. Like you got to stay there. You can't do this. Like it's not going to work out for you. And I'm just like, bet on yourself, man. Like literally always bet on yourself. And you know what you have inside you. And were those people holding your hand during that prison sentence? No, you did it by yourself. You know what I'm saying? Just as long as you bet on yourself enough, you can do anything.
Thank you, brother, for coming out, man. I'm really excited about this trip and all the things that are coming up ahead. And I really appreciate you, and that's much love.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. And then reach out to me. Go buy the book, Against All Odds. Listen to my podcast, please. And like I said, I'm on the gram, bro. Reach out if anybody needs help. I'm just trying to change the world and help people.
Yep. And that's at Peter_Meyerhoff.
Yep. Meyerhoff. Yep.
Cool. Thanks, bro.